right, guys, thanks for coming in for our week one and season preview presser. I have a statement that I've prepared to preview our groupings for the first week and our players, and then I'll open it up for questions. We start off this week with a threesome. Miguel Mike Teniero is first in that group. And make sure you call him Mike. I suspect he's changed his name because he owes the cartels quite a bit of money. He's in witness protection. No photos of Mike this year to protect his identity. Mike is also the organizer of the Battelle Golf League, and that league is really no fun. I've subbed in that league. Those guys are stiff as a board. So he's joined our league to have a little bit of fun this year. Our defending champ, Rick Higgs, is in that first group. The cackler himself. If Rick asks you to touch his golden putter, be suspicious of that. Not really sure what his intentions are, but we'll see if Rick can duplicate his success from last season. Then finally in that group is Gary. Gary is probably the smartest guy in our league, but then you have to question that, because why is he in our league if he's so bright? Our 540 grouping is headlined by myself, of course. I'm still quite angry about the outcome of last year's championship, so I'm looking for redemption. Matt Myers is in our group. Matt, after years of mooching free golf from everyone by just being a sub in the league, Matt has finally grown a conscience, I guess, and decided to become a regular this year, so that's good out of Matt. Howard Harcha, Triple H himself, is in our group. Howard is probably the nicest guy in the world, but he's also an attorney, so odds are he's lying about how nice he is. And finally in our group is Nick Miller, one of several Millers in our group. I've known Brett for many years. I didn't even know Nick existed really until about 3 weeks ago when they asked if he could join the league. So not really sure what the family dynamic is there, but every family has a black sheep, I guess. Our 550 group is headlined by Brian Cairns. Brian's one of our rookies. There's a lot unknown about Brian, starting with how to even spell his name. Is it B-R-Y, B-R-I? Is it Cairns, Carnes? We're not really sure, but Mike is also a 2 index, or Brian, I'm sorry, Brian's also a 2 index. So you really have to question, why does he even want to play with us if he's that good? So a lot of unknowns there with Brian. We have Brett Miller in that group. Brett's one of 4 golf coaches that are part of our league. And you would think, being a golf coach, he must be pretty good. You'd be wrong. You'd be wrong on that. Also in that group, you have Parsons, Jason Parsons, which I had always known him just as Parsons, kind of like Madonna or Cher or Prince. I didn't even know he had a first name until I had to ask, and found out it is, in fact, Jason. So, and then finally in that group is Randy Bletz. Randy's another rookie. I think Randy has some self-esteem issues. He asked me if he could start the year with an 18 handicap, which is the max in our league, and I had to inform Randy that you really have to earn that 18 handicap if you want that. So we'll see if he can accomplish that the first few weeks. Our 6 o'clock grouping starts with Joe Lowe. Joe is probably one of the hardest swingers at a golf ball that you will ever see. He really goes down and gets after it. His swing is often followed by a grunt or a shout of some sort, and he routinely has to go back to the tee box to retrieve his left nut after teeing off. So we'll see if this group can help him with that. Bob Winland is in that group. Bob This is Bob's home course at the Ridge. As you're walking around looking for Bob's house somewhere on one of the fairways, you won't find it. Bob and his family actually live across the street somewhere, I think in a nearby trailer park. Bob's a retired teacher, so is his wife. So, healthcare is pretty expensive. Things have been pretty tough for them. His son Danny is subbing this week. I think Danny has had to move in to help out with the finances a little bit too, so he's going to tag along this week. And then Jake Miller finalizes that group. Jake and his wife Mary are expecting their first child in July, so they're real excited about that. But we'll see if Mary even lets Jake play that long. I have a sneaking suspicion his season's going to be cut pretty short. Mary keeps him on quite a tight leash. Our 6'10" group starts with Mitch Kessler and of our rookies. Mitch is also another golf coach in our league. He coaches Jonathan Alder, but Mitch actually has some ability. He's related to the Millers, but he's actually related to Brett's wife, so he doesn't have that Miller DNA really junking up his system. Scott Miller is in that group. Scooter, he's a grumpy old man, really. He's a curmudgeon. He complains about every decision I make. He'll probably complain about this video. And I think he's going to have his name changed to Karen if he's not careful. Hylas Steeman is in that group. Hylas' season came to an abrupt and unexpected end last year. Very mysterious circumstances surrounding the ending of his season. The rumor out there is there was an STD involved. I think you'll have to answer some questions about that at some point this year. And finally in that group is Ryan Moran. Ryan has had many jobs over the years. One of them is actually a motivational speaker. Now, after you watch Ryan play, you'll wonder why he hasn't found a motivational speaker for his own golf game. That's something perhaps he should look into. And then our 620 group starts with Wes Childers. Wes is our resident Gilf lover. And also we'll see if Wes can stage something where his wife can run over his putter this year. He's really struggling with the flat stick from what I've seen in the preseason. And that's usually his go-to, to stage some sort of accident by his wife so he can get a new club. It was his driver last year. I think he should go for the putter this year. Jeff Corbini, I think he lives in the commune there in Wes's neighborhood with them. They have some sort of weird swingers thing going on in their neighborhood. Jeff is subbing this week. Matt Thompson is in that group. Matt is, first of all, he's one of Brett's friends, which is strike one against him. And Matt's really the epitome of the drive for show, putt for dough paradox. He struggles with the second part of that equation, so we'll see if Matt can get the flat stick going this year. And then finally in that group we have Scott Vandewater. The modern tour player often travels with a team to help them. Swing coaches, psychologists, therapists, masseuse, and a harem, I think. But Scott, I think, is going to employ that this year. He has some anger management and self-esteem issues. So I think he's brought a team with him this year, and we'll see if that can help him turn around his fortunes in the season. We do have three guys missing in action this week. The most important ability is availability, which means that our first guy there, Jared, has no ability of any kind. He's never available to play. I think what's really happening is Jared's wife has banned him from playing in the league, and he's just too much of a pussy to admit that. Justin Swally will be missing this week. Swally's the head baseball coach at Hilliard Davidson. Swally often will bring his case of Natty Light to the course with him wherever he goes. I'm curious to see if he's been taking that to the dugout with him this year as his team has struggled during the season. And then finally, Kevin Donahue's missing. Donahue, he's a little slow. He's special, but he tried to mail me his league dues this year, and I opened the envelope, and there was some weird photograph in there, some lame attempt at a joke by him, but he didn't even have his check in the envelope. He claims he forgot. So we're not really sure if Kevin is actually part of the league. There will be some fines assessed with all that, so we'll see if he's able to join us for week 2. All right, I'll open it up for questions. Yeah, well, our featured groupings, I'd say probably of everyone we're looking forward to seeing this week, my eyes will be on Mike and Brian's groups. Those two have the lowest index to start the season, which first of all, they're not going to be successful in this league with their index that low. But then also, I'll be curious to see after seeing how bad the rest of us are in week 1, if they even return for week 2. So, yeah, well, I do have some advice for the rookies. We have 8 rookies this year. That's a pretty high number. I'd say the rookies will really want to try to duplicate Rick's formula for success that gave him a championship last year, which is really threefold. First, to find some success early in the season by padding your handicap. Really have some blow-up rounds early on and get that handicap as high as possible, and then that'll help you the rest of the season. Secondly, really take advantage of the weeks where you're paired up or teamed up with some other people and really ride their coattails. And Rick did that quite well last year. And then finally, in that last week, you need to find a way to pull a miraculous shot out of your ass that you have no business making at all. So we'll see if someone can duplicate that from the model that Rick set for us last year. My goals? For me this week, really my success is going to depend on the success of Matt Myers, which is the first thing that gives me kind of the nervous poo for this week. Matt is notorious for being rendered useless whenever the temperature drops below 70 degrees. And if you've seen the weather forecast this week, it doesn't look good for Thursday. Which is surprising. You'd think Matt must be from Florida or some warm weather state, but he's not. He's from that state up north. So you'd think he'd be more tolerant of the cold, having grown up there. But I think being from Michigan also explains why Matt tends to wilt under the pressure of the biggest molds. So it does explain a lot, I think. All right, guys, thanks for coming, and we'll see you after the round.